If I get it, I gotta send it.
So this is right where we were yesterday? Correct?
Yeah.
Nice fresh haircut, Davis. Looking good.
I know, I saw it. It looked good. It looked rude. Your stuff's everywhere.
Chose.
No.
It's actually the
Dang it.
scoreboards.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
All right, population growth may affect living standards in three pretty significant ways. Population growth stretches your natural resources. People need food, clothing, and shelter, and that comes from natural resources. You may recall from World Civ learning about a guy by the name of Thomas Malthus. He said that population growth was going to create a permanent underclass of society, that we would always outgrow our ability to sustain ourselves, and he advocated for population control. He was in favor of Darwinism. If they're too stupid to survive, let them die. He was in favor of letting disease and famine run its course, letting wars take people, because natural resources get stretched too thin. Since he said that, we've multiplied our population sixfold. If Malthus had been correct, we would all be worse off, not better off, right? So Malthus may have been wrong. What Malthus was not counting on 200 years ago was technological growth. He was not expecting us to learn to find ways that are more efficient of using those resources, ways to stretch those resources and make them go further. He also didn't figure out that humans would get better at doing what we do, that we'd get more productive. Now, one of the things that we've also gotten better at is killing each other using a variety of means. We've gotten better at warfare. Malthus didn't have the atom bomb. Biological warfare existed then. They used to launch plague-ridden bodies over the wall of the city that you were laying siege to. That's chemical warfare, biological warfare. Right? They didn't have missiles. That's good. Population growth dilutes the capital stock. Remember, I have 3 shovels for my 2 pool diggers, right? If population grows and I now have 4 pool diggers, I still only have 3 shovels. You have to produce more capital stock to make that additional population as productive. If you don't, you are diluting it. And you're reducing your divisor. The more children we make, the more we have to educate, the thinner we stretch the educational system. The faster the population growth, almost universally, the lower the literacy rate.
Does that say lower K/L or?
Yeah, K divided by L. K per L, lower capital stock per laborer.
Oh.
A lot of developing countries will use some public policy to try and control population growth. China tried this, 1 child per family. Yeah, that didn't work out so well for them because of China's unique culture, every family wanted to keep their son because it's the son who's responsible for caring for the parents into adulthood. And so then we ended up with a whole bunch of sons and a whole bunch of abandoned daughters or aborted daughters or killed daughters. And now we have a whole bunch of sons who can't get married because there aren't any daughters.
Hey,
Married
they
off.
can.
Awkward. Right. Some nations have tried to promote contraception and provide it freely. Sometimes nations have run into difficulty with education in relationship to the contraception issue. In India, anybody know when the birth control pill first came about and became pretty widely available? Late 60s, more globally available. Yeah. The problem with the birth control pill is you need to be able to read a calendar to take the birth control pill. And when they tried to introduce the pill in India, they found out that women had been denied schooling and were not literate enough to read a calendar. Well, that's all right because what works on a 28-day cycle? The moon. Very good. And whether you can read or not, you can look up at the sky and see the moon. And so they said to these women whom they handed out the birth control packets to, start taking on the first day of the full moon. Okay, that worked. It worked great. And within a few months, they had all of these Indian women on the same menstrual cycle.
Oh God.
In a nation that did not, by and large, have indoor plumbing or clean water supplies, where they bathed and did their laundry and got their cooking and drinking water from the same rivers.
Oh, that's so gross.
It was a major public health concern.
Did this like actually happen?
Yes. It was a major public health concern. Nobody could get clean drinking water or cooking water. Yeah.
I'm just thinking
They
of
abandoned that plan real quick.
at the same time. Like that's a World War III right
give
there.
up on birth control then?
In that application and methodology, yes.
Did they?
So sometimes best efforts
Wait,
go poor.
did they
Think
take
of
like?
like all of the nations women PMSing at the same time.
Did they take like the pill?
Yeah.
They had that back
But
then?
they didn't. But they. That's just like.
They were literate.
That's
You
insane.
can go to any water in the world.
So then they figured out, maybe let's educate women and work along some additional means to contraception. Let's teach women some sex ed. Let's teach women actually where babies come from and different methods that they could use to prevent their pregnancy and why it might be advantageous to them to prevent some pregnancy.
Didn't they say, wasn't it like they also raised like, not just their literacy about like having babies, but like
In general.
trying to like equal treatment them? Because then like the opportunity cost of a woman working is like greater than having a child.
Not initially in the 60s and 70s, they weren't going there.
But like over time, is that something you could do?
They definitely are working on that, especially in a lot of African nations. They're working on improving the access to education and showing the male patriarchy
That girls
that
don't
it can
just have
be
babies.
advantageous to the nation to include women in productivity.
I love the line in the book where it goes, "Children are an opportunity cost."
They are an opportunity cost.
Just
You
don't-
guys are a huge
Save so
opportunity
much
cost.
money.
You're probably amongst the largest opportunity costs your parents have ever decided. All right. Population growth can promote technological progress. More babies equals more minds equals more thinking equals more opportunity. Yeah, some of those babies are going to turn out to be numbskulls. Wow, let's not name names. That's hurtful to Andrew. Oh,
We were talking about the Andrew who's not here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's okay if we talk about him if he's not here. Yeah.
Right, Dayton. Right.
You should hear what we say when you're gone, Dayton.
So there's a social anthropologist who's actually done some research on this. He said that as world population increased, productivity growth rates have increased. Seems inevitable as long as we don't overly dilute our capital stock. Here's the interesting one. The productivity of the more populated regions grew faster than the less populated regions, despite dilution of the capital stock.
Wouldn't the increased productivity lead to an increase in capital stock?
Not always. It depends upon where you allocate your resources. In order to increase your capital stock, you have to increase your investment. And that has to happen before the capital stock can increase to accommodate the increased. So there should be a lag and a delay. And what they found is there's not, because of the improved technological understandings.
That second bullet point, what's it saying grew faster? What grew faster?
The populated regions of productivity. Yeah. Practice time! Let's do this together. What are the things that determine productivity? Physical capital.
L.
Known as, what is the letter for physical capital? Okay. Another one, Davis said H. What is H? Human capital.
L.
L, which is?
Quality of labor.
Which is labor, which means number of peoples. Okay?
N.
N, which is natural resources. A, technology. All right?
I wish they would make these letters correspond with the names. Like T for technology.
T is taxes.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a little aggressive there.
Yes, I know.
Could you do this? Could you list 3 policies to raise living standards by improving one of the determinants? What would we do if we wanted to improve capital stock? We want to increase our K. Save or invest. Promote savings or investment. Okay? What do we do if we want to stop diluting our capital stock?
Don't give them benefit.
Population control. Any means of population control. All right. What do we do if we want to promote technological growth? That's not the best way to improve your technological growth.
What do you say?
He said have more population.
Education.
That's about H. Education's about H. Patents. Protect intellectual property. Okay? What if, oh, I'm out. We've already done 3, right? Yeah. Okay. Minimum homework. We were right.
Yes.
Oh, investments. All right. Now, the one that we haven't really talked about, the one that we didn't have a policy to boost, is which one? N. Why aren't we boosting our natural resources?
You can't. They're already there.
Remake the earth. All right? So, you could say there's only so many resources, and eventually we're going to run out, and so we got a problem. Eventually our living standards can't keep growing because N is a fixed quantity. How many of you might be on board with that idea? It's not an absurd idea. I mean, there's only so much oil out there. When we run out of oil, oh well, guess everything grinds to a halt.
We ride bikes.
We ride bikes.
Oh well.
Go back to horsies.
Yeah. I own a bike for a reason.
All right.
Yeah, we got so excited when we said that.
The counter that we have had throughout history to the limitations in the quantities of N, or the fact that there are N's that we use now that they didn't even know about before. How many of you have taken AP World? Okay? So you studied the Bronze Age, right? Well, why did we have the Bronze Age? Followed by the Iron Age. Right? Because they discovered that there were more ends out there. Could there be N that we don't know about yet?
Yeah.
Or that we know about but don't know how to use to our advantage?
Yeah.
For sure. Wait till we get off this planet and discover the ends that exist other places.
We meet all those new people.
I know.
Meet all those.
We ain't the only ones
Or
holding
L
it.
to enslave. What? That would be wrong.
Oh God.
Right?
People are still figuring that out.
I know. All right. Look, we've already bypassed some of our stuff. Hello, hybrid cars. Anybody's family have a Prius? Or any kind of a hybrid
Davis.
car?
Yeah, my.
Okay.
He said a
How about greater fuel efficiency?
I definitely would.
Go home and ask your parents how many miles per gallon their first car got.
Not a lot.
One.
I'm gonna guess the answer is somewhere south of 20. And my first one got 8 miles per gallon. What do you drive?
Oh
Yeah, but how much was
my
gas
God.
back then?
About $1 a gallon.
Yeah, but how
About
much
20.
inflation?
That's if I'm.
Yeah, that was the nominal
Not
value of gas.
I get a lot if I'm not driving the speed
What
limit.
was the real value?
You'd have to do the math back to 1990.
Get the BLS thing out.
BLS.
Yeah, check out the CPI in 1990.
My English
Figure it out.
teacher started
Get on
using
it, you're
that
already done with
class
your
the
end of
other
chapter
day.
problem.
I was like, wow.
Extra
At the
practice.
same time we're using it, I was like, what?
We're magic, team.
I know.
Okay? Oh! We have to burn natural gas or heating oil to keep you warm. Let's come up with better insulation. Let's come up with thermal pane glass. Let's come up with triple pane glass and coatings to prevent heat absorption and energy loss.
More coats.
I know. Yes. Let's come up with more layers. All right. See, the thing is, as a resource gets more scarce, its price goes up. We know that concretely, right? The higher its price, the greater the incentive there is to find a replacement for it or to find more efficient ways to use it. Ta-da! Econ. Isn't it glorious, guys? Just stop for a second and think about all the stuff that you've studied in history, that you know this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And if you go back for a second and think about some of that stuff, how much of it had an economic reason? You're so much smarter already.
Economics is like. I don't know. I literally don't know why it's not required to graduate.
All right.
You don't have to make it AP econ though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
you
not
can
really an
teach this
AP
class
level.
at a much more basic.
I mean, if you have Linder teaching it, not really.
All right. Okay.
But
In the long run, living standards are determined by productivity. There's a lot that we can do to impact productivity. Savings and investment is huge. The reason they keep hammering savings and investment is because it is the entirety of chapter 26. That's where we're headed next.
I love it. Don't tell me anything.